Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, here it's snowing outside, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I'm a 40-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined this week and every week by my very favorite, oldest, prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who also is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager.
That's right, and we help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to supplement their medical coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Babe, good morning.
Good morn.
Yeah, it is good morning. At least the sun's finally come up here in sunny, they call it sunny, Southern California.
No one wants to hear that. It's like snowing here. Well, lightly flurrying, I think is the technical term for it.
Well, I know that, at least for me, I'm kind of excited because I've only got a couple weeks left, and I'll be back in the studio with you, which will be fun.
Yeah, just to miss all of this cold. That was excellent timing.
Well, you know, your order is get rid of that stuff when I come back, okay?
It's my only goal right now.
Well, that's great. And we do want to remind everybody that we've got 2 hours of fun ahead, but all of our clients, they're folks like you. They're our listeners. They're over 55, they would like to retire, or they're already retired. And our goal is to create a game plan for them so they can have a fun and hopefully financially successful and less worrisome retirement. I was going to say, and as you can tell, we are live and local. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are open, 931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126 from the hot and heavy. At least that's what it's been the last couple of weeks. Text line.
Yeah, the early morning listeners seem to have some of the most excellent text questions. It really gets going in this 9 o'clock hour.
Right, and we're sort of in this lull period, which is waiting till the Super Bowl happens tomorrow, and about 45 days until tax returns are due. So
that's right.
I know that we've got some questions from clients in regard to taxes. We've got a few fun emails, but what's more important is what's on your mind. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126 from, as I like to say, the Aaron-controlled text line. Because I can't read backwards. What can I tell you?
Well, it takes a little skill.
It certainly does. And we do want to remind folks that there's lots of ways for you to keep in touch with us during the week.
That's right. Please log onto our website, jblfinancial.com. in the upper right-hand corner, you can click on the Contact Us button, which will allow you to ask a question, request a coaching session, either financial or medical or both, or just leave a comment for us. Those goes right to our email, so we should be able to get back to you within 24 hours. In the lower left-hand side of the screen, a pop-up box will appear that says Sign Up, and we can send you our monthly newsletter. We call that the Coach's Corner. And we have a fairly new newsletter for the month of February, with some good headlines to start, which is new businesses may be good news for the economy. So we have started using the first article as an infographic every month, and this kind of shows the start of new businesses throughout the last several years, from 2017 all the way through 2021. And it looks like, we're still seeing a nice accumulation of new business startups, which always seems to be good for an economy, right?
Yeah, babe. And I think what's interesting here is that we may be seeing a new trend that many of the folks that have decided to retire or basically leave work and not retire, many of them are staying at home. They're starting their own businesses. We're really kind of learning that many things can be done remotely. And so I think new business formation and the continuation of that really bodes very well for the future of the economy as well. Even though the markets may be turbulent at times, what this really tells me is that the underlying strength of the economy, as well as, truthfully, the creativeness of the citizenry in terms of new business formation is continuing. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. The next article is When Two Goals Collide, Balancing College and Retirement Preparations. So this is for all of our younger listeners or potentially even grandparents that are either assisting with college education or might be doing the heavy lifting for their children or their grandchildren. How do you balance, maintaining your retirement plans or maintaining your retirement goals while still assisting with future generations?
Yeah. Again, one of those, there's no clear-cut answers. Some people would say, well, you need to take care of yourself first so that you're in a financial position to help people later. And I think that certainly makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, we know that college educational costs continue to rise. And in many cases, without some financial assistance from someone else, of other source, maybe yourself, that could be out of reach. And really a third thing, which I know is a great debate that we had in our family, as well as we know that other folks have in talking with them, is that, a lot of parents want to be in a position where if they can say, hey, we can send that child off in the world with either very low or maybe a no-debt situation and getting out of school. Why carry that burden with them? So lots of things to talk about and debate on these subjects. And, again, hopefully they're helpful for you in maybe having thought-provoking thoughts or conversations with others.
The next article is Smoothing Market Ups and Downs, which is relatively timely for our current market.
I would take a little smoothness at this point. What do you think, babe?
I don't disagree. This really focuses on dollar cost averaging, which is for all those individuals that are still contributing to retirement plans or, you contributed on the way up these last several years. Now you have the opportunity to buy things at a discount every time you're paid, and you make that contribution to your retirement plan. You're now purchasing shares at a lower cost. Hopefully, you'll be accumulating more shares, which will grow in value over time, which is how, most of us have built our retirement plans over a long period of time.
And so what's so interesting is, let's be honest, it's counterintuitive, right?
Sure.
When the markets are turbulent like they are now, the unknown makes you fearful.
Sure.
But the truth is that when things are on sale, that's when you want to buy them. You don't want to buy on the way up. So doing this systematically through work and staying involved with your retirement plans is just so important, because you do buy when things are down. You also do buy, hopefully, as things are rising. And so as the markets continue to rise, everything you purchased beforehand just becomes more valuable.
And, this is also true on a much smaller scale if you are already invested and you're reinvesting dividends, interest, or, gains from your current investments. As you reinvest, you're most likely purchasing shares at a lower cost in this moment. Maybe significantly fewer than if you were contributing to a plan, but it still works on both sides.
Yes, it does. And very good article.
And the very last article is Plan Ahead to Help Ease the Burden of Tax Season, rather. So these are just a few tips and tricks that will assist you in, making sure that you're able to file your taxes on time with as much ease as possible. And last week, we had a question about the facial recognition that the IRS was going to be requiring if you wanted to file your taxes online. They have since rescinded that for a few reasons. So if you had planned to file electronically, you no longer have any requirement to do that facial recognition. If you were going to file by paper, then you never had that requirement.
I don't know. I had a couple jokes. I had a couple jokes prepared for this, but I was just thinking to myself, how would they know?
How would they know what?
That the initial facial recognitions, that they have a database on all of us, that they have these. What mugshots are they comparing to make sure that the person that's filing taxes is really that person?
I don't have the answers to that. However, I do know that there were some security concerns with the company that the IRS had been contracting to, so they decided to scrap that idea. But I'm relatively sure with big tech that there's a lot of ways they can identify you.
It sounds like 1984 to me. I'm sorry.
I think a lot of people felt that way, and there was a little bit of downward pressure on that.
Yeah, I don't know if we're quite ready for that, or wearing chips under our skin and that kind of stuff. But you never know. Who would have imagined that we'd have cell phones, right?
So true. So true.
Other than through Star Trek, etc. Well, that's great. Again, we call it the Coach's Corner newsletter. Easy to access. Just go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on that Coach's Corner newsletter icon in the bottom left-hand corner, or the floating icon that shows up on virtually every page. Easy to subscribe to. We'll be happy to send it to you by email every month. And Erin and her staff do keep the last, year of these archived for your viewing, printing, or downloading convenience, right?
That's right. And there are a few other ways that you can keep in contact with us during the week. You can log onto our Facebook, JBL Financial, or follow us on Twitter, also JBL Financial. We try and post interesting articles, not just about investing, but also about financial planning, retirement planning, and some fun things going on in the metro area.
Well, we've had a little bit of fun. Hopefully, our phone line, we're starting to get some texts and maybe even some telephone calls. Our phone lines are open, 931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126 from the text line. So, babe, I was going to say, I know that you have an email that we wanted to start off with this morning.
Yes.
Which I thought was kind of fun from one of our clients. And, again, all the topics that we have and that we create each week really primarily come from coaching systems that we have with Perspective as well as with current clients, because they're fun, they're timely, and most people say, yeah, that's me, or maybe that's Cousin Joe, or my niece or nephew, whoever it might be. So
I think this is an excellent question I received by email from one of our clients, because this individual has changed jobs. And with the current job market, I think that a lot of people are looking at other opportunities, potentially more lucrative, be it with your time, with your income, or with your extra benefits available, because many companies are looking for people, so they're starting to raise wages and things like that. So the email begins, I recently started a new job. with a financial services company as their general counsel. I was just informed yesterday that I am not yet eligible to participate in their 401k for 1 year. I have a few options. I can either roll over my 401k to my new company's plan, although I'm not able to contribute for a year. I can roll over my 401k into an IRA, or I can leave my current 401k where it is.
Yeah, that's great because, many people face this issue, and there's a couple of different options, obviously, here and really ways to look at it. So what was your advice to our client on this, Bing?
So there are a few things to keep in mind. The first is if you are it's important to keep track of all of your former retirement plans, because although it's $20,000, $30,000 potentially now, 20 years from now, if you don't keep track of it, if companies are purchased, if they change plans, sometimes you get lost in the shuffle and it becomes detective work to find your money. So we always suggest that, if you have the opportunity to move your former 401k into your new 401k, that's usually an excellent option. That's going to be in the lowest cost environment available to you. In our client's case, she can roll the money into her new plan, but she just won't be eligible to make contributions or receive matching funds for 1 year. But she can still make investment selections, watch her money, and then she'll know that it's followed her to her new employer. The other alternative. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, just to go further on that, when she moves that money to that new plan, that is her money, so the balance is vested.
Correct.
And I would certainly say, in making that decision, one of the things that she will want to take a look at is what are the quality of the choices that she's going to. Are they as good, if not hopefully better than the ones that she had? And really, what are the expense ratios that are involved in the funds she'd be investing in?
Right.
There's no reason to, especially because we know that transfer from one 401k to another one, if it's done directly, is a tax-free transfer. And in her case, if she wanted to do that option, she would go to her plan administrator and ask for a transfer form and probably take a copy of her last investment statement so that we can make sure that everything gets transferred, even though it's going to come over in cash. That the money does get transferred and it's all done correctly.
Exactly. The other opportunity would be to if she decided that she wasn't in love with her new 401k plan options, she could roll that money directly into an IRA account. Just like you mentioned, Dad, it's going to come over in cash. We could do another direct transfer as opposed to the 401k plan. This would be into a self-directed IRA. Allowing her to have a broader option of investment selections. However, most likely the fees will be higher, especially if she's working with an advisor like ourselves, charging 1% annually for the funds that we manage. So that's something to consider. But there is one additional catch to this, which is if you roll your 401k into an IRA, it's considered a conduit IRA, which means as long as you don't make any contributions outside of the original 401k contributions, you have the opportunity to move that again either into your new 401k plan or, down the line, if she happens to find another position of employment with a new 401k plan that she likes better, she'd be able to do that, to roll it into that plan. But the minute that you make a contribution to your conduit for IRA, it's no longer a conduit IRA, and you're not eligible to do that.
Yeah, babe, I think that's a really good point. And, for our clients and folks that we're working with that we'll call them in the pipeline, because they really want to work with us and they're, within 5 years of retirement, we're assisting them in, we call it employee education, and helping them make selections and making recommendations on selections with them for their plans. So, and they're not getting charged. So
right.
Keeping your money in your plan is really, for us, that's number one. We don't want your money until you're really ready to retire. There have been a few clients that have insisted that we do the rollovers in that way.
But it's our last option usually.
Yeah, we'd rather save you the 1%. up until the time that you're ready to move that money. So she has a couple of good options there. I'm sure that she's going to take advantage of the one that makes the most sense for her. And, what's nice is that all this information is available to you. The plan, both the old plan and the new plan do have to provide you with sufficient information so you can understand what not only the overhead fee structure, if you have one in your plan, but also what the individual expense ratios are inside of the funds that you're choosing. So in some cases we can map these over, in other cases we can't. But at the end of the day, it's all about making the best choices you can about your money.
That's right, and it's also important because different plans have different rules that guide them. For example, if you're able to take loans or not from your policy, what the charges are, to how often you can rebalance your account or make investment changes. So it's important to have a nice grasp on all of your options before you make a decision.
Honey, it's interesting that you bring up loans. And certainly your 401k is probably one of the last places that you want to consider when you do want to consider taking a loan if you do need to get money, because, as you know, you repay those 401k loans basically through
payroll deduction
contributions. Exactly, payroll deductions you have from work. And, we've had situations we've seen where, once somebody once they leave their employment, that 401k plan, their old plan, can no longer permit them to do new loans because there's no way for them to get the money back in through payroll deduction. So maybe it makes sense in a lot of cases and we know that you also can't make loans from self-directed IRAs. So moving that money to your new employer plan, and then obviously understanding if that plan does offer loans, would certainly be something that you want to consider as well.
Great point. I think it's time for us to take our first break of the hour.
Well, I think we'll do that, and we want to, again, let everybody know that our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126. Let's heat up that text line today. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Individual rates, coverage, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to terms and conditions, not available in all areas. If you're a small business owner, listen up. Pi Insurance wants to give you one of those aha moments, the kind that could save you money. Workers' comp is probably one of the biggest costs you face. But did you know that insurance providers have flexibility in setting their prices? That's right, but many don't bother giving small businesses the savings you deserve. Instead, you can get lumped in with other businesses and overcharged. Pi Insurance was created to change that. With Pi, you get a quote tailored specifically to your business, and you could save up to 30% with no hassle and no hidden fees. And with helpful representatives just a call away, it's easy to understand why Pi is rated excellent by customers on Trustpilot. Take 3 minutes to see how much you could save with Pi Insurance. Ask your agent for Pi or go to trypi.com. That's TRYPIE.com.
At Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill, we know how to have a great time. Laissez bon temps relais. Let the good time grow. That's right. We don't have a happy hour. We have a happy day. $4 drink specials every day, all day. Even a $4 Bloody Mary on Sunday. Gulf Shores Restaurant and Grill. Now with its third location in St. Peter's off Mid-River Mall Drive. Come on in. I'll meet you at the door.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here's Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And as our producer Eric would say, we're willing, we're waiting, and we're wanting to answer your questions at 931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones. Now, I don't know why I keep doing that. We don't really get too many cell calls anymore.
I don't think that one works anymore.
You have to mark that one off the chart, okay? Or 84126 from our usually hot and steaming up text line.
Well, you know what's great is everyone did listen to that. Text us at the 84126 text line because we have our first text question of the morning.
That sounds fabulous. Let's go.
Hi, I have a question about IRAs that are all traditional. I have about 10 individual traditional IRA accounts. Is there any way... What are you laughing? You know what, man? Is there any way to combine all of those, or do they have to stay individual? Thank you. You know, we are happy to answer this question for you. There are a couple of things to consider, of course. If you're working with an advisor, you'll definitely want to chat with them about why they have created 10 accounts for you personally, because
that's before you shoot them. Right.
Well, because you are charged.
They got 10 custodial fees, right?
Right. There's going to be at least a $35 custodial fee on each IRA, and that's true across the board. So no matter where you're holding your assets, there is usually a custodial fee that starts at about $35 a year, and really what that is for IRS reporting. So the custodian reports how much you have inside of your IRA, if you've done any rollovers to it, if you've made any distributions, that will also they'll also be responsible for creating that 1099 for you that shows how much you've paid in taxes or how much you haven't. And then finally, if you are 72 years old or if you're using a beneficiary IRA, it's going to, the custodian is responsible for calculating your required minimum distribution for you every year. So that's why they feel that they can charge that fee. So that means you're being charged, $350 a year plus to maintain all 10 of these accounts. Now, some advisors may divide their accounts up based on the type of investments that you hold in each account. Mutual funds versus individual securities versus other types of securities. There may be a rhyme and reason for them to break it down, but if you are the owner of all 10 accounts, technically you can roll them all into one. As long as they're all traditional IRAs, like the texter mentioned, you can't roll beneficiary IRAs into traditional IRAs, nor as husband and wife can you combine IRA accounts.
Yeah, and there is a couple of other small restrictions. Simple IRAs cannot be combined with traditional IRAs unless they're at least 2 years old. And
you're no longer contributing to the simple IRA.
Yes, thank you, babe. SEPs can always be – SEPs are typically kept separate because those are plans that, again, if you're making contributions to those, you wouldn't do a rollover into those. But and it may be we don't know. It could be that this person has bought 10 annuity contracts, which seem kind of silly in itself as well.
Well, the texter did make one more text for us to fill us in. These are all in a bank. So that might mean that there are 10 CDs. However, you could move a CD from one IRA to another without breaking the CD, just as you can move securities from one IRA to another as long as they're eligible to make that move. We call that in kind. Nothing's bought or sold, so there's no tax consequences there.
Yeah, and, the thoughts running across my mind, and we've seen this in the past, where folks have been a little afraid for whatever reason, of maybe being fully invested in the market, and they're keeping these things as safe money. But again, if each of these have different maturity dates, which I'm sure that they do, hopefully they do, what'll then happen is they now have a really, I think, kind of a fun opportunity to dollar cost average some of their investments back in the market with the idea of helping them grow.
And we've definitely done that with many clients if they have what they would call, laddered or rolling CDs in which they have, like you mentioned, Dad, different maturity dates, as opposed to rolling it into the next CD. You might make the decision that either you need the income for some reason, or it's time to get invested in the market with that small chunk of money that comes due from the CD, as opposed to breaking them, because you might end up paying more in fees than you ever earned in interest, especially with their CD rates at this time.
Very good advice, and certainly, since they're all traditional, you can't combine them with Roths. And if you want to create a Roth, that's called a Roth conversion.
That has tax consequences to it.
Yes, exactly. So, good tax question, but you're right. Sometimes more is not always better.
Certainly, especially if there was no particular thought process behind the creation of Alt-10.
Exactly. Do we have any other pending text questions, babe? If not, I want to move on to an email that I recently received.
Let's jump to your email while we wait for our next exciting text question.
Well, that's great. I received an email from somebody who said, Jeff, I'm 62 years old, and my wife is 59. I've been listening to you and Aaron for several years, and I really enjoy the show. And so we obviously say thank you for that. And it makes me think, am I doing everything I can do, my wife and I, that is, to give us the best chance for a financially successful year? So what things should we be thinking about to have a good year? Really good question, and I was going to say I think it's very timely because as the markets at this point are a little bit
They're not that fun. That's really what they are.
They're a little skittish, but we know that in the last couple of years leading up to this year, to at least till the beginning of February, what's happened is that we've had some pretty significant gains if you have been invested and invested in the right places over the last couple of years. So the first thing that we always recommend is rebalance your portfolio. Capture those gains from your winners, because what rebalancing does is it realigns you with your portfolio with what we call your risk tolerance. Not being overly invested and not being underinvested in the markets. That's real important.
And this also might give you the opportunity to make some changes to your portfolio if either you're working with an advisor or you're directing your own investments as to what you think the market's going to be doing or where you think the growth is going to be coming from in the market in the upcoming months.
Yeah, and we really think of this as maybe adding what we would call a tactical component to your portfolio. Maybe taking 5 to 10% of that and maybe some added growth or even an income component. Having a little fun with your money, not necessarily taking additional risk, but maybe adding a little bit of flavor to the portfolio that you have today. The third thing is really when we're looking at things overall is, do you have a good secure foundation? Have you chosen a health plan that really fits your needs based on the options that you have through your employer? And obviously, if you're retired, does that supplement to your Medicare Part A and B coverage really fit you correctly?
And not only that, if you're currently working and you have access to participate in an HSA, an HRA, an FSA, any account that is going to allow you to contribute pre-tax dollars and spend them without taxation on your medical expenses, is just going to either save you money in the short term, meaning you're not paying taxes on those co-pays that you have to the doctor, procedures, filling medication, your eyeglasses, visits to the dentist, or it might have the opportunity to save you money in the long term, which means you'll be able to accumulate those assets if you have what's called a portable account, like an HSA, where the money is always yours, to have a nice piggy bank of dollars for those Medicare premiums that you just talked about, Dad. What type of, your out-of-pocket expenses if you happen to choose a Medicare Advantage plan in retirement. It's just going to give you some overall additional flexibility and hopefully some additional cost savings.
Yeah, I love the idea, honey, of accumulating money and then being in a position where if you are able to get to Medicare eligibility, then now you've got a piggy bank there to really reimburse you for those unreimbursed expenses. At the same time, I'm also thinking that we do have clients that, they come to us and become clients because they're not Medicare eligible. Maybe they're 2 or 3 years out, and they're able to use those HSA accounts to help pay for those health insurance premiums that they have, either through COBRA or possibly through the Affordable Care Act, right?
Exactly. The other important things to consider are, like you said, making sure your foundation is secure. And a lot of those cases, that's in protecting the wealth that you've already accumulated, potentially by utilizing long-term care. So you can protect that in your later years without having to spend large amounts of money on your care, or without having to spend down and utilize Medicaid. The other important thing to consider is maintaining those assets after you've passed on, or being able to create a additional stream of income for one of your loved ones after you've passed away through life insurance.
Yeah, and again, I think that many people have an opportunity, and sometimes they don't take advantage of it, of buying supplemental life insurance through their employer. Is it available? Does it make sense? Is there a hole that basically needs to be filled for either permanently or even for a short period of time? If you have a mortgage, instead of purchasing individual term insurance or buying mortgage insurance, which is really, we know is extremely expensive, maybe buying some supplemental term through your employer to cover yourself and even, frankly, funeral costs for your children, et cetera, can be something that can be very easy and affordable. And frankly, it's done through payable deduction, so it makes it easy. And that's smart. And then really the final thing I think when we talk about foundations is your legal documents. Are they in place? Are they updated enough to really match with what your current wishes are?
And I think this is, 90+% of the people that we see already have some sort of legal document in place, be it a will or a trust. And in many cases, they created those at an inflection point in their lives. They got married, they had children, maybe something happened to one of their loved ones, which triggered them to create some documents, but they haven't been updated in potentially 10, 15, 25 years, and things are much different now. So it's important to review those documents if you have them, or make the decision to procure them if you don't, to make sure that your wishes are fulfilled in the case that you might be incapacitated or pass away.
Yeah, baby, that's such an important thing. And we've seen this before. Somebody's sick, they go into the hospital, they don't have their medical directives, they're forced to sign documents through the hospital, and their job is to keep you going, but those do not resuscitate orders can be so important because it really leaves you and maintains the control that you want over your medical choices.
Or it leaves someone that you love in control of your medical decisions versus the hospital.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with the, with the durable powers of attorney, which is having the opportunity to have somebody carry on your affairs, whether you're ill chronically or, unable just for some reason to be able to, express your wishes. So those are, I think, some really good foundational things to consider. And, as an advisors, what we're doing is that really that's the first place that we're starting. Do we have the basic foundations in place so that hopefully this beautiful home that we're building for you, this retirement home that we're building for you, is really sitting on a very secure and safe foundation. So that's great. And also, naturally, getting a second or a third set of eyes on your situation can also put you in a position where you get perspective. And, if you have an advisor today, you should be visiting with them, and frankly, you should already be having these discussions with them for you. And as we like to say, we're here. So if you still need help, give us a call, 314-863-0008, or you can send us an email. And I think probably the most effective way we see people do that is really by going to our website, right, and hitting the contact section.
That's right. We do have one quick text question that I think we can get to before our next break of the hour.
Fabulous.
texter wrote us, why do some firms charge you an exit fee if you leave them and go somewhere else? And is it commonplace? I think it is very commonplace for a custodian to charge an exit fee. Those can vary in terms of the expense from $45 to I've seen upwards of $125. And why? Go ahead.
I was going to say, babe, usually it's usually the charge is around $75, and then what also is happening is most IRA fees, that $35 fee like you were talking about, is generally charged at the end of the year. So if you're exiting before the end of the year, that's when they're snagging that fee.
And then when you move to your new custodian, they generally do not charge you the custodial fee in the first year because of that. So you won't be double dipped on the fee, but most firms do have an exit fee. And why do they have that? Because they can, I think, is the answer.
Well, there is paperwork also that is involved for them, because they still do have some IRS reporting that they need to do. As we know, all the the value of our IRAs are all reported to the IRS every single year, and it's a tracking thing, right? They want to make sure that as you pull money out, you're obviously claiming this as income, etc. So they're watching your money.
It's nice of you to defend those firms. I think we should take our next break, and when we come back, we have a really excellent text question regarding a lump sum payout on a pension or taking the monthly amount.
Fabulous. We appreciate that. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Hey, KTRS listeners, Roger Wigginton here at Don Rogers Limited, 6727 West Main in Belleville. Well, it's the end of the season. It's time for me to move out my men's and women's apparel and make room for all the new spring goods. There's a lot of winter left. We've got everything on sale, the seasonal merchandise, in our men's department and women's department, 30 to 50% off the regular price. Good time to restock. Spring isn't that far away, and the goods are going to start rolling in, and I need the room. So don't forget, we're at 6727 West Main in Belleville. We're every day 9:30 to 4. Come in, check out the seasonal clearance, but check out all the new spring merchandise we've got in our men's and women's apparel. You're going to love the new colors, the new styles. So don't forget, you're always going to park at the door. You're going to walk in. You're going to get waited on. No hassle. It's a fun place to shop. We'd love to see you, so stop by when you have a chance.
Got gold? Get green at Jewels on Hampton. Jewels on Hampton pays the most for your precious metals, jewelry, gems, currency, antiques, and collectibles. Jewels on Hampton buys precious and semi-precious gems and stones, scrap gold, and sterling silver. Jewels on Hampton buys and sells paper money, wristwatches, and pocket watches. They even take pianos and cars. To sum up, bring your gold chains, bracelets, rings, coins, dental gold, and more to Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton Avenue in St. Louis. And get green. Online at jewelsonhampton.com.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now back to Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here's Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, it's 9:48 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Got a few minutes left for our first hour of power, and we'll certainly be back in the 10 o'clock hour with you as well. The phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 931-5877, or from the text line, the text line 84126. Honey, I know that we did have some folks carried over that had text questions from the last hour, so let's get to them first if we can.
Yep, this is a great one. Good morning, Jeff and Aaron. I worked at a company for 34 years, and I have now reached the age to take my pension. The pension was actually frozen in 2007, and I had been there 30 years at the time. Once the pension was frozen, it paid 4% simple interest, and that is all. The offer they have given me is a monthly amount of $353, and the same amount in the pension was $60,500. Please explain to me how to decide whether I should take the lump sum of the $60,500 or the monthly annuity payments of $353 a month. During the break, I did, for our first step, just so you're prepared, Dad, I did the math on the payout amount. So I'll let you lead in.
I won't get a headache then.
I will let you lead in on some of the top ways that we help clients make decisions on lump sum or monthly amount.
Well, there's a bunch of factors you have to consider. Number one is, do you need that monthly income flow? If that's something that you want to include, if it's something that you're going to consume, then I would certainly say taking the pension makes sense, assuming the numbers work out, which Aaron will tell you, I guess, in a couple minutes. The other thing would be longevity. It sounds like this particular participant texter in the spring chicken. So,
well, isn't that nice?
Let's be
Send
honest.
a text, get insulted.
Well, again, we don't know if this texter happens to be married or single.
Sure.
If they're older, certainly what happens is the probability of them receiving their payout over a long period of time may be questionable based on their age. Their age based on their health. Thirdly, like I was saying about, do we need an income flow to go to if they happen to have a surviving spouse? So those are a couple of the factors that we're really looking at. A, do you need the money? And then B, if they're old enough, obviously they're either taking requirement distributions or the pension could be similar to that. But I think a lot of this also comes down to, is it a good deal?
Right. So one of the way to calculate what the pension payout rate is, in this particular example, we would take the $353 a month and multiply that by 12 to create an annualized amount. And then we divide that number by $60,500, which was the lump sum offer, and we are sitting exactly at 7%.
Okay, and that is what would be considered a fair life-only monthly payout. So the answer is, it sounds like it's an okay deal. I guess the third and final factor, and I guess this is maybe the overriding one for many folks, is, do they have other dependents, maybe children or grandchildren, that they would like to leave this capital to, with the hopes that investing this money would be able to, in many cases, cover most of what that monthly pension payout would be. But then, as we know, when your pension stops, basically when you stop, the pension plan keeps the capital. If you move that money into a self-directed IRA, you have an opportunity to retain that capital and certainly pass it on to spouses, children, grandchildren, whoever, churches or charities, whoever it might be.
Dad, could you go into a little bit more detail on the payout rate? We said that 7% was an okay deal.
Right. So what happens here is that 7% is currently the payout rate if you were to go to commercially to purchase what we call a life-only annuity, which is a lifetime income payout on a single life. Generally, if you're looking at a joint survivor payout, commercially those numbers are at about 6%. So we've seen in some cases, and honestly, the rates change,
right?
Because as the plans, as assets go up and down inside your plan, based on the assumptions that they have, those payout rates can change. And we've seen, especially with many of our clients that are retiring from, I want to say, the large hospital systems that we've seen here in the city, and we have several large systems. Those payout rates can really vary. The other thing is that we know many companies are looking to freeze, as this company did, or discontinue those pension plans. And offering a lump sum distribution is one way for them to get rid of this liability. Because as we know, the company ultimately who's making the contributions is really responsible, again, ultimately also for the payouts. So if it's a good deal, you take it. If it isn't a good deal, then I think you have some things to consider. At the end of the day, we've had many of our folks that, I guess it's really a question of they wake up and go, do I feel more comfortable adding another layer of fixed income, something that I can hopefully count on for a long period of time, or is it okay to really add this into my investment mix? That's my thoughts, babe. Did I give enough detail there?
I think so. We have one additional text question queued up, which is, what are your opinions of I-bonds?
Okay. I'll just hit this. I-bonds, again, are basically treasury bonds, long-term bonds that are issued, where the face amounts are basically indexed usually to the CPI or inflation. So in the last couple of years, we've seen those things appreciate rather significantly. But you have to remember, because they're long-term treasury bonds, usually the interest rate associated with them, especially those that have been issued recently, are kind of low. So I would tell you that I-bonds are something that we have recently further added to our clients' model portfolios. However, there's something that we have to watch. Also,
if you're buying them individually, not through a mutual fund, then potentially there are some liquidity restrictions there, correct?
Yeah. Yes, babe. Absolutely. And again, we think that it makes sense to be involved in a managed environment. Bonds are really just as sensitive as stocks are, because all the bonds in the world truthfully trade or are valued every moment that the markets are open. So pulling the trigger, making those decisions certainly aren't easy ones. And frankly, if you're retired and you want to have, and managing your money is not really one of your key activities or that you want it to be, having a manager assist you in doing that, I think, makes a lot of sense. And obviously, as you said, babe, if you want to create economies of scale, buying individual bonds is really difficult.
Great point. We have just about 2.5 minutes before our final break of the hour. I'm out of text questions for the moment.
That's fine. Why don't we go to a quickie one that I recently received? This was an email from one of our clients, and it's a tax question. One of our clients had recently been receiving income flows from a non-qualified annuity, which is basically an annuity that they purchase with after-tax money. As we know, those annuities are basically, the way that you pay taxes on them as you begin to make withdrawals is under what we call FIFO, first in, last out. And so what happens is that in those cases, with annuity contracts, we know that the interest can grow income tax deferred until the time that you decide to take that money out. And unlike IRAs, you don't have the same restrictions about 59.5. Well, you have a 59.5 restriction, but you don't have a restriction about having to take required minimum distributions. Interestingly enough, this client of ours had been taking distributions for several years, and she noted that in the last couple of years, we had basically eaten through the interest part, and that she was receiving principal recovery, which again was non-taxable. And wonder, hey, why was it that we had to pay taxes this year? We actually got a 1099 that was taxable. And the answer was simple.
Cool news.
We made some dough.
Right.
We ended up making some money. So again, what happened was, because of the investment returns that occurred in that account, the bucket was, again, I guess the way I like to think about it, the bucket was again being refilled with, we would call it, tax-deferred earnings. And so therefore, as we were making these distributions this year, what happened was we were required to then, as Uncle Sam says, the last thing in, which was the interest, is always the first thing out. So I'm not going to talk about companies or qualities or whatever, et cetera, but we know many folks do purchase these contracts because they're interested in that income tax deferred element of an annuity contract, and they can't make sense.
That's very good. And, we have a couple more text questions that have popped up, so we will get to those at the top of the next hour.
I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach.
You know what to do. Don't you dare touch that dial. We'll be right back after all the top-of-the-hour messages here on the Big 550, KTRS, Talk Radio, St. Louis.
For 25 years, the Big 550, KTRS AM, FM 1061, K291CW, St. Louis.
ABC News. I'm Brian Clark. As the U.S. raises the alarm about a potential Russian invasion of Ukraine, President Biden is expected to speak by phone this hour with Russian President Vladimir Putin. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, telling Americans to leave Ukraine on Friday, said,
We are not saying that a decision has been taken, a final decision has been taken by President Putin. What we are saying is that we have a sufficient level of concern based on what we are seeing on the ground and what our intelligence analysts have picked up, that we are sending this clear message.
And former State Department official Steve Ganyard, an ABC News contributor, says the military pieces are moving into place if Russia wanted to invade.
You have a large exercise going on to the north in Belarus. You have 30 ships at sea in the Black Sea to the south and significant numbers of troops in the east.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has ordered 160 National Guardsmen from Florida to leave Ukraine, citing an abundance of caution. In a separate incident, Russia says it deployed countermeasures after a U.S. submarine violated Russian territorial waters in the Pacific. In Canada, all trucks have been removed from the base of the Ambassador Bridge connecting Windsor, Ontario with Michigan. That's after a judge in Canada Friday ordered the protesters to leave. They've been there for several days. It's halted the flow of goods between the two countries. But this protester, as he departed today, said,
"There's no end to this tyranny. Tyranny. We're done."
Originally protesting COVID-19 mandates, and amid fears there could be a similar protest near the Super Bowl, the LAPD chief Michael Moore said Friday,
"We want to obviously and will support and respect First Amendment rights of everyone involved, but we're also going to ensure that no one interferes with the rights of others and that there's no violence or any type of interference with people going about their day."
The Super Bowl could set a record for the warmest game in history. It could be close to 90 degrees. You're listening to ABC News.
Rob tried to manage his constipation with belly pain, discomfort, and bloating day after day. After realizing it was irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C, he found another way and finally said yes to adding Linzess.
Linzess, or linaclotide, is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess works differently than laxatives. It lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2 years old. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. There could be more to your story with IBS-C. Talk to a doctor today. Say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS. Sponsored by AbbVie and Ironwood Pharmaceuticals.
Friday was a dangerous day for police officers wounded in shootings around the country.
9 Phoenix cops were injured in a standoff at a house where an alleged gunman and woman died, but pulled off a rescue, says Mayor Kate Gallego.
A baby is safe today.
2 deputies on a suspicious man call in Frederick City, Maryland, says Sheriff's Officer Todd Weivel.
Something happened between the two, and officers were injured.
As was the alleged shooter. Nobody critical. A Philadelphia police officer shot while cops served a high-risk warrant in a drug case. Police Chief Danielle Outlaw.
It's frustrating. It's disrespectful.
The officers treated and home from the hospital. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
The Court of Arbitration for Sport has scheduled a hearing Sunday regarding the status of Russian figure skating star Kamila Valieva after she tested positive for a banned substance in December. If she's allowed to continue to compete at the Olympics, she's favored to win gold in the women's figure skating event. One family says their daily Wordle game helped save their mother from a home invasion. Denise Holt did not share her score with her family. That concerned her daughter, who called police in Lincolnwood, Illinois, and officers found her being held hostage in the basement.
And I'm thinking the longer I'm here with this man, the greater the chances are that I'm not going to come out of this alive.
Denise Holt was not hurt. The suspect was found in the home. He's facing home invasion, aggravated kidnapping, and other criminal charges. This is ABC News.
Ever have questions about your prescriptions, even in the middle of the night? Well, Walgreens now offers Pharmacy Chat, 24/7, so you can ask an expert about things like the correct dosage of your medications or possible side effects. Speaking of side effects, the side effect of getting your questions answered at 2 a.m.? Sleeping much easier for the next 6 hours. Try Pharmacy Chat today or tonight, online or on the Walgreens app.
Brian Clark, ABC News.
Now back to Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here's Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to our second hour of Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
The retirement coach.
That's right. We're willing, we're wanting. Eric is still awake and he wants to get your questions. Well, phone lines are open. Give us a call, 314-931-5877, or from the text line, 84126. First hour went fast.
Yes, it did, and now we have we have questions coming in from all mediums. I happened to jump onto my email and see that we have an individual who utilized the Contact Us section of the website to ask their question.
That's fabulous, and we know that folks also like to use that for contacting us to set up coaching sessions, which is always fun, and we know that it's fun and free at our offices in beautiful downtown Olivet, where we have the best coffee and free parking, right?
That's right. So the email question, what is the fee for management of my 401k TSP if I transfer it to you as an IRA? The management fee. Go ahead, Dad.
No, babe, you can do it. I think you do it better than I do.
Oh, so polite. Well, there is no fee for us to assist you with the rollover of those funds. However, once those funds are under our management, you give us discretion to make decisions inside of your account, and we charge 1% annually for the funds that we manage. That's based on your account value. The fee is debited 0.25% per quarter based on the last day of the previous quarter's account value. Those charges are charged at the beginning of a quarter, so that means if you ever decided to leave us or to work with someone else and therefore leave us, you're actually prorated that difference back. So we've talked a lot about the different fees involved in moving accounts today, and that's another way to avoid you being double dipped on the same investments, meaning, we'll charge the fee for the time that we managed it. If you decide to make a change, your new advisor will pick up the fee where we left off.
Yes, and just to amplify a little bit here, Aaron and I always like to say we manage the money, which we do. You give us that privilege, but those funds are all held by our custodian, LPL Financial. So you never have to worry about us running off to Vegas with your dough.
That's right, and we do charge a fee for the assets that we manage, but that really covers the gamut of everything that we discuss on the show every week and any additional questions, things that come up for you. So we're there to assist with creating that game plan of cash flow for you, assisting in transitioning from your employer's health insurance to potentially individual insurance or Medicare. We're there to review that Medicare for you every year. We're also here to assist with ensuring that you take your required minimum distributions in a timely manner, avoiding any excess penalties, helping with tax planning, and assisting with making sure, like we talked about during our last segment, making sure that you have a financially successful retirement, and that could include creating those helping you to begin the process of creating those important documents, looking at life insurance, long-term care insurance. So we like to say that the advisory services are how we're paid, but really all of the fun stuff is what's included in that for you.
Absolutely. Very well done, babe. And again, for us, it's fun. And what we try to do is make it as much fun for you. I think one thing that's kind of interesting, at least as a feedback that we get from, I think, literally everybody, is that when they come to visit with us for coaching sessions, and usually, again, this happens when they're within 5 years of retirement, whether it's a week or a month or 5 years away, is that we're just the same as we are. We are the same in person as we are on the show.
That's because we're self-taught. Self-taught, rather.
And the fact is, for us, this is fun, and our job is very simple: is to provide you with the information that you need and the guidance that you want, so that, frankly, if you want to, and that's what most of our clients do, they want to pay attention to other things that are more fun for them in their life, whether it's spending more time with their spouses, children, or grandchildren, doing those things, those activities that they like to do, and really delegating the financial part of life, especially on the investment side, to us, and obviously seeking our guidance on lots of issues. And all I can say is we thank every single one of our clients who really are our listeners.
Absolutely.
For permitting us to have the privilege of being on this journey with you.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. And also the other byproduct is you do get a lot of Aaron stories, and I like to tell those.
So if you
that's just my thing.
Story time, there's plenty of it, and there's no extra charge to you to receive it.
Right.
It's baked into that 1%.
Yeah, it certainly is.
No cover charges. So we have a great text question that just came through. We are seeing delays locally with the U.S. Postal Service. We, too, are seeing those delays. These last several months. Yes, agreed. Being retired now, we pay the required quarterly tax payments both to the IRS and Missouri Department of Revenue. Can we pay online to both of these entities with no service or convenience fees? Now, I do know that you have the capacity to pay online with the IRS, so the federal return, you have the option to do that. I believe depending upon how you elect to pay, there may be a service fee involved, but you'll want to log on to irs.gov to take a look at that. The great thing there is you can go through the whole process without actually making a payment, so if you find that you don't want to pay that service fee, then you haven't committed to anything simply by going online to take a look. I do not believe that you can pay the Missouri Department of Revenue electronically at this moment. You may want to check the Missouri Department of Revenue website for clarity on that.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add on that, babe. You're the one that's doing all the tax paying in our business at this point, so I'll agree with you.
And I also might suggest, just as a side note, which is if you're paying quarterly, maybe you take a look into doing some withholdings from your Social Security, from the other streams of income that you have, so you can avoid the quarterly payments as a potential option to, make things a little bit easier for you down the road and not have to worry about the U.S. Postal Service. In addition to that, I do know that as long as your payments are postmarked in a timely fashion, that you aren't charged any fees. You might feel a little bit of stress waiting for it to show up, though. So very understandable.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of folks that would like to, or they like the idea of maintaining the control on the timeliness of how they're paying these taxes. But I have to tell you, at the end of the day, it's very similar to me about just like escrowing real estate taxes. The advisory firms that you work with and or banks do have the capacity to withhold federal and state taxes for you from those distributions that you're making from your retirement accounts. And I would encourage you to do it. I mean, why go through the hassle? And doing it, it's easy. There's never any charge to do that. And certainly it makes sure that you're always timely.
Indeed.
What do you think?
I agree with that.
Very good.
So it looks like we have a caller on the line regarding Social Security.
Woohoo!
Good morning, Scott.
Thank you for taking my call. I'm retired and I am on Social Security, but I'd like to find out, is there some way I can find out when I actually was enrolled in Social Security? The reason I'm asking the question is that I put a delay on it when I requested to receive Social Security originally, but I I wanted to have it delayed, and I'm not sure whether my time was on the time, whether or not I was credited for the delayed time, or if I was charged when I originally requested retirement.
Okay, so did you do this through the online process where you selected a month that you wanted that you wanted the benefit?
No, I called in.
Got ya. So yes, I think there are two ways that you can take a look at this. Have you created a My Social Security account through the IRS.gov website?
No, I haven't. I can't because I don't have internet service.
Understood. So what I would recommend doing is you can give either your local Social Security office a call, or you can call the national number and have an appointment set, and they can either tell you verbally over the phone when your first Social Security payment was sent to you, or they can also send you documentation as to when your first Social Security payment was sent.
I have two additional questions, if you don't mind.
Well, we're going to start charging. No, go ahead.
Put it on my account. I don't have any funds.
No problem. Hit us with your next questions.
Okay. If I find out if I didn't get the extension, but they actually start paying me when I originally requested, I've been retired now for 10 years. Is there any way I can go ahead and have that adjusted?
It's going to be a battle, but yes, if you can show, because they had when you set this up, I'm assuming you did this over the phone or in person. They have to keep a record of that. So either you'll have to provide the documentation, or you'll have to have them go back and look for it, which could be a lengthy process. But yes, they do correct their mistakes if you can find them.
Okay. Good luck trying to get a hold of somebody.
That is very true. What I usually recommend is if you have a cell phone, or you could put your phone on speaker, you just do that and do something else hands-free for a little while, because you could be on hold. I do know that things have been loosening up a little bit as the restrictions because of COVID have also been loosening up, that the phone appointments may take a month or two to schedule, but you've been waiting 10 years already, so what's a couple more months?
That is true. Well, listen, thank you so much for the information. That's very helpful, and I'm glad you guys are on the air.
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank you, Scott. Have a great afternoon. And it looks like we have another caller on the line. Chris has a question about setting up an appointment.
Sounds great.
Hey, how are you?
Good morning.
Hey, I just had a question. I'll be turning 57 soon, so I'm not, I've still got some years left, but I was just curious about setting up something to get a plan going since I'm getting close to the, retirement. Do you guys do something like that where you come in and just can go over things with me and let me know what I'm, need to do, or maybe change some things, or that's basically what I'm trying to find out.
Absolutely, Chris. These are some of our favorite appointments to have, because we as planners love to plan. So if we have the opportunity to do some advanced planning for you, take a look at what you're doing now, see if we can get in sync with what you're doing, maybe make some suggestions on improvements, then we are happy to do that. We also, keep in contact with you over time. Usually, if we're working with someone like yourself where you're not quite ready for retirement, we like to check in with you at least once a year. We can help with 401k or retirement plan education. A lot of times we're talking about paying down debt, be that mortgage, credit card, things of that nature, getting prepared for your eventual retirement.
Yeah, babe. I mean, that's really where it's all about. I think it's important to gauge where you are, to give you some confirmation in most cases that you've done the right things, and at the same time, get that perspective going. And really, if nothing else, with many folks that we work with, we're actually helping them, assisting them in creating what is the timetable. will I be able to do it in 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, whatever it would be, 8 years?
Or more excitingly, earlier than you thought.
Yes, and that's something that can really put a smile on your face, because if you know that you've accumulated enough, or you know that you can really do this within a more timely basis than you considered, then guess what? You got the world, you got the tiger by the tail.
Right, because then you're in the driver's seat now. You don't feel like you have to hang on, but maybe you're there because you want to be there, which makes going to work a lot easier, I bet.
Yeah, and at the same time, it also creates other, I want to say, planning opportunities. If you get offered that early retirement benefit, maybe you're in a position where you say, hey, I might not have considered that in the past, but now, woohoo, time to go.
Exactly.
Good question. We do appreciate that. And we do see a lot of folks that are preemies, is that a good way to put it? They're prematurely going to retire, but that's a lot of fun.
It is. And I think since we're basically approaching our first break of the hour, we can come back with a couple of text questions that we received after these messages.
Mom, what do you always say? There's nothing sadder than jewelry that sits in a drawer.
That's why we are proud to offer jewelry repair on-site at Newssetter's Fine Jewelry. We know that your jewelry is important to you, and we take that part of our job very seriously. Visit us at Doherty Ferry in Big Bend, or learn more at wowdiamonds.com.
That dinner was delicious. What's next?
I'm thinking just the check.
Do you frequently have gas, bloating, diarrhea, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools after eating? One or more of these symptoms could be a sign of exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, and it may be time to talk to your doctor.
If you have EPI, Creon may be right for you. Creon, pancrelipase, is an oral prescription medication that treats EPI. Creon replaces enzymes you may be missing to help you break down food properly.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Do not chew capsules or contents, as this may cause mouth irritation. Tell your doctor if you have unusual or severe stomach pain, bloating, trouble passing stool, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, worsening of painful swollen joints, or allergic reactions. Other side effects may include changes in blood sugars, gas, dizziness, or sore throat and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Talk to your doctor about Creon, the #1 prescribed EPI treatment, and visit gocreon.com. That's GOCREON.com. Or call 1-800-633-9110.
Hi, this is Stuart Rosenblum, president of Stewart's American Mortgage.
Stewie!
Mortgages are the biggest investment that a person's going to make in their life, yet most people don't know anything about it. Tune in for Mortgages and More with Stewie. That's me, where we can go over all the different types of mortgage programs in simple terms. You, me,
Stewie!
You'll become an expert after the first show.
Listen to Mortgages and More with Stewie, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. on KTRS.
The seasons are changing. Have you had your furnace serviced lately? It's time to call Anton's Air Conditioning and Heating to service, inspect, or replace that old furnace system. Anton's is a Rheem Pro partner, and you've seen their bright green trucks all over town servicing the St. Louis metro area. Call Anton's today and schedule your service or inspection and save big. That's Anton's Air Conditioning and Heating at 314-582-0745 or online at antonshvac.com.
In Town and Country, there is a community located on 21 beautiful rolling acres, making it hard to believe it's a retirement community. It's Marie de Villa, offering a wide variety of senior living options. They've enjoyed consistent management and ownership. Explore all of the amenities that Marie de Villa offers by going online to mariedevilla.com or call 636-227-5347. Marie de Villa has it all.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now back to Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here's Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Oh, it's 10:24 here on the Big 550 KTRS, Talk Radio St. Louis. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And we're willing or waiting to answer your questions at 931-5877 or the text line 84126. Babe, I was going to say, before we get into our next text question, we do have several texters that have been kind enough to text us this morning. I want to step back here and talk a little bit about the markets.
Sure.
And, you know, we're not prognosticators. We're investment advisors, and so what we have to do is read the tea leaves and try to make the best choices we can for the folks that have given us the privilege to manage their money. I was going to say, you know, we're in a time of, I want to say, measured uncertainty. There's always uncertainties in the markets. We've got questions about, you know, is Putin going to invade Ukraine, which I'm sure he probably will. You know, what's going to be our response? That affects the markets. We also have, really, maybe most importantly, the Federal Reserve signaling that they are going to raise rates, and it's going to happen this year, and it can be more than once. And so the real question becomes, what is the rate that they're going to increase it? How is it going to affect the economy? And so we are now kind of going through these, I want to call them hiccups, and that's really what happens with uncertainty. It isn't a time to be nervous, to be fearful, to run away from the markets. As Erin reminds me every day, that's how our clients made their money, by being invested over long periods of time, growing their wealth, living through the ups and downs. And basically, you know, volatility is truly the price that we pay for the opportunity for greater returns.
And I think it's important, just because we've seen a pretty rapid drawdown in the market, to take a look at your account's performance over time. If we're looking back over the course of a full year, so if you went back to February of last year, or even if you went back to February of 2021, 2020, you haven't given up, in most cases, you haven't given up all of those gains that you've worked for over the last few years, but we have given up some. And I think, just like my dad said, we know where the uncertainty is coming from. It's just that it remains unclear what direction we're going. So, for example, at the end of last week, we saw another hot inflation number. Everyone was anticipating that to be the case. Most people are anticipating that we'll see a continued either increase or high inflation number, so one that's not yet decreasing over the next few months, because things like that take more time to work themselves out. We also know that the Feds are going to raise rates. The true uncertainty there is how many times, how much, how quickly, and that gives the market some pause. When we hear after a Fed meeting that they're going to leave everything on the table, well, they didn't give us a clear direction as to what's on the table. Then when we saw the hot inflation number come out, we heard the Fed say maybe we're going to be more aggressive than we originally planned. That gives the market a little pause. So until things start to solidify, which should happen as quickly as the next Fed funds meeting, because they haven't planned to do any emergency rate hikes, I think we'll start to see some additional clarity once we get past some of the global uncertainty as to, what is Russia going to do? What will the U.S. response be? Most likely it's going to be economic. How does that impact us? We saw oil shoot up yesterday because of that. That's probably something that economic warfare is probably the more likely outcome of what's happening in Russia and the Ukraine, so we'll have to keep an eye on that too. But these things do tend to work themselves out, and we have seen some really excellent economic numbers coming out underlying all of this, which is one of the reasons that inflation continues to be an issue. We're seeing rising wages, decreased unemployment, increased employment, increased new business starts. We're also seeing good numbers that are being reported during earnings season. The vast majority of companies on the S&P still delivered above their expected top and bottom line numbers. So knowing all of those things and knowing that the market is forward looking, we feel like we're still going to see better days ahead. And that's usually what the market's going to eventually look to once they have more footing.
Very, very well put. I appreciate that. And I would say that you know what you did. You know what it took to get you here.
It's like
Apollo
that's really
to
Rocky.
Yeah. I guess I watched too many movies, but you know, at the end of the day, being invested, staying invested over a long period of time is important, and that's why, as you know, Aaron and I stress very much, and we even talked about it earlier in the show, rebalancing.
Sure.
You know, if you have the income needs that you require over any 6-month period, should be satisfied through a rebalancing process, and that's something that we do very actively for clients, and we do it at the end of June and at the end of the year.
And really the goal of that is to put money aside so it's not subject to market volatility that you can continue to live off of, because you didn't make decisions based on the market while you were working. Hopefully you won't feel as though you need to make those decisions based on the market while you're retired.
Yeah, and as I like to say, it's easy to get out. It's hard to get back in. So,
absolutely.
You know, staying invested, making sure you have that cash available for whether it's emergencies, for capital needs, or income purposes is extremely important. And frankly, we have found that our clients, and this is anecdotally, feel more comfortable about their situation because they know that we're watching, that we're making sure those dollars are there for them as they need them, so that we can ride these waves of volatility. And, you know, let's be honest, nobody minds the ride up.
Certainly not.
Okay? It's
even us.
The last couple, even us, that's right. As I like to say, I was looking younger and, you know, thinner and more virile, et cetera.
Smarter,
now I look like
even.
Now I need a shower and a shave. What can I tell you? But it's all good. So I just wanted to bring that in. During these times of volatility, there are a lot of folks that are out there, and truthfully, look, I watch television like everybody else. Risk of the market. You shouldn't be involved. Run to safety. If you're thinking about running to safety, the thing is you already missed out. Okay,
and not only that, there are other types of risk. Market risk is definitely something that we focus on because it's the most obvious. But now we're running into what's called inflation risk, which means that, you know, you've moved to the side. Well, the only way to outpace inflation, be it a high number like 7.5% or a more targeted number like 2%, is to earn more than that. So that's what your goal had been over a long period of time. That's most likely what it needs to continue to be, because the only way to outpace something is to truly run against it. And holding cash, while important to do so for expenses, monthly expenses, upcoming needs, emergencies, it's also important to keep in mind that there are other types of risk to your assets.
Yeah, and the one thing that nobody's really talking about, but I think most folks appreciate intuitively, is that when the Fed does decide to raise rates to whatever level they are, whether it's 0.25%, 0.5%, whatever it might be, will that translate into better interest earnings in our bank accounts, in our savings accounts, et cetera?
Not right away.
It certainly isn't going to be right away. And as Aaron and I thought really put very well, until we get to a time where the fixed income, the interest earning part of our portfolios, is beating the rate of inflation, okay, and or even beating the rate of withdrawal, assuming that you're keeping within a prudent 4% withdrawal rate, which is something that we try to do with all of our clients. It's just not carrying the water.
Right.
So we're really forced to be more invested, which frankly isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it just doesn't feel good at times like this. So hold on to your hats, have some fun. I will say that, you know, during my time away from the office, in my, I guess we'll call it my West Coast office here, you know, I've had over 80 client meetings at this point with folks by telephone, by Zoom, et cetera. And
even managed to have one in person.
That's correct. I do. That's right. I had a client that was visiting one of their kids out here, so it was kind of fun. We went out to lunch. It was a vegan lunch, so we won't talk about that since
look at the deference that my dad pays to be willing to. I don't even think he would take me to a vegan restaurant if I requested it.
Well, the problem was
he loves
that
you
they
all.
didn't have. I do. They didn't have a picture, so I ordered the wrong thing. That's all I can say.
Didn't have a picture. I don't know if anything would have been the right thing for you on that menu, but the point being that you went to enjoy something that the clients enjoy, which is nice. Yeah,
it was kind of fun, but from all these meetings I've had, folks aren't afraid. I mean, there's no reason to be fearful. We've seen these things before. Are we going into another recession? I mean, the truth is nobody knows, but I don't believe that we're out of the last one that we've been in. So are we going to go deeper? I think it's doubtful, and I think a lot of the economic numbers, as Aaron was mentioning, really point to the fact that we have a very strong base. So keep the faith. Everything will work out just fine.
Agreed.
Well, good, babe. Let's get back to. Are we supposed to take a break now, or do we need to?
Nope, we've got 10 minutes till our next break, but we do have a couple of text questions that we can get to.
Love that. Let's go.
Can you have federal and state income taxes deducted from your Social Security payments each month? Yes, you can. Yes, you can, and we very much recommend that you do so because it helps you avoid those quarterlies. It also keeps all of your withholdings consistent because most likely you are having taxes withheld from any distributions from your IRA accounts. If you elected a pension, they do have an opportunity for you to elect withholdings from that as well. So keeping a consistent withholding from all of your income stream usually helps alleviate any need for quarterly withholdings. It also keeps your income more consistent because, you're not going to have a big tax bill at the end of the year. You've already basically prepaid that throughout the course of your withdrawals.
Very good. What's our next one?
This one's an interesting one. Good morning. I've been converting some traditional IRA to Roth because my estimates tell me that I may trigger the Medicare additional tax for higher income at 72. Is there a better approach? I am 66 now.
Well, I was going to say it's one of those situations where there are some things that you can do. One of the things that you certainly can consider, and you may want to factor this in your thinking, are charitable deductions.
Sure.
What contributions are you making today to charitable institutions that you will be able to do later directly from your IRA, having your custodian to do them for you? This will reduce those required minimum distributions dollar for dollar.
The taxable dollars of the required minimum distribution.
Yes. That's very good. I was going to say the other thing is, try to make less money, but who wants to do that, right?
Well, certainly not. But I do think it's interesting because this texter must be looking at the brackets in terms of where the Social Security, where the Medicare tax comes in, which married filing jointly is about $180,000, and bumping to that bracket every year in terms of making those Roth conversions. And trying to hold underneath that so when the time comes, 6 years from now in the texter's case, that maybe he'll have a much smaller required minimum distribution, which essentially you're prepaying the taxes. I would just make sure that you've fully done the math in terms of the taxes you're paying now versus the increase in your Medicare premium, because that is a graded scale there. Once you cross over the threshold, that doesn't mean you're going to be paying, $350 a month extra every month. It means that you'll have, depending upon where your income falls, a slightly higher fee every month. But remember, that's a 2-year lookout. So if you took the 72 required minimum distribution, you wouldn't see that come into play. You wouldn't see the increase until 74. So you just want to make sure that you've kept in balance is the potentially 20% that you're paying in taxes less than the additional fee that Medicare is going to charge because you've been so successful, as my dad would like to say.
Yes, and I would suggest here that it doesn't. I mean, let's just pull a number out of the air. Let's just say that we're looking at doing we know the requirement of distributions run about 4%. So let's just say that we're looking at doing a conversion of $100,000 of traditional IRA money, which I know would make me throw up. Well, it would. For this texter, let's also assume for fun that he's in a 20% federal income tax bracket, 5% for states, so that's 25%. So we're looking at $25,000 of taxes. Well, versus a $4,000 IRA requirement of distribution withdrawal. There's obviously a big discrepancy in those numbers. If you also add to that, like you were saying, babe, if your Medicare Part B premium increases by $200 a month, that's $2,400 a year. I don't. There's no parity there. I mean, it doesn't make sense in my mind to do that. The other thing would be, and I would suggest this also to our texter, one of the primary reasons that I'm aware of that folks want to do these Roth conversions is to put themselves in a position where they can pass more assets to their children income tax free, or maybe grandchildren if they're lucky, or great grandchildren if they're even luckier. The
Just
CARES
pouring
Act,
it on thick. Mr. Shea from the Next Hour said you need a new topic. He said that yesterday. He said that last week to me.
Well, that's old news because he said it last week. So, in either case, I guess the point here is that the CARES Act of 2020 really changed the dynamic of inherited IRAs. And so we're talking to our clients very specifically about including second and third generations into those distributions because they'll be receiving and having to pull those monies out at lower income tax brackets than they have than maybe their children, who in theory will be their age when they're getting this money. And I think, in my mind, I have to tell you that I think Roth conversions are dead.
And I think really the texter's original question was, is there anything else they can do? In some cases, unfortunately, there's not much that you can do to avoid taxes. But like the math that you just did earlier, Dad, you want to make sure that whatever taxes you do have to pay, because we absolutely consider that elevated Medicare Part B premium essentially a tax to you because it's charged based on your income. What's the more cost-effective measure? There may be no getting around there is no way getting around to paying the taxes on your IRA, except for those charitable contributions made directly from the custodian to a qualified 501c3 organization.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess certainly, from a greed point of view, and I can appreciate this, you're doing a Roth conversion so you can retain part of those assets. But at the same time, we know that if you're not 72, you can still do up to, I believe it's $100,000 a year of a qualified distribution. So, if you want you want to endow a charity university, you want to have your name put on a building, this can be another way that maybe what you're doing is accelerating your plans to do these things and not waiting till you're gone, but really doing it during life. So that could be another way. That could be another valuable way. But the bottom line is you didn't pay taxes on the way in. Uncle Sam's going to get his taste on the way out.
All right. With that, I think it's time to take our second break of the 10 o'clock hour.
That's great. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach.
We'll be right back after these messages.
This is Diana with Newstetter's Fine Jewelry. This year we're celebrating 50 years in business. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your lives for over half a century. It's because of you that our small family business thrives in St. Louis. From our family to yours, thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Since 1928, the Karastan brand has been synonymous with luxury flooring.
And since 1939, Midwest Floor has been flooring St. Louis homes and businesses with quality Karastan flooring.
Today, Ambassador Midwest Floor brings you more experience with over 100 master craftsmen installers.
Live beautifully with Ambassador Midwest Floor.
See the finest selection of Karastan carpet, wood, and luxury vinyl.
And save $500 off select floor styles.
Get the finest installation and experience more at Ambassador
Midwest Floor. With hard surface flooring so popular, people are searching for unique area rugs that stand out.
With the largest selection of luxurious Karastan carpet, Ambassador Midwest Floor can make a custom area rug for any space in your home.
Karastan is long-lasting, stylish, and easy to clean. The perfect carpet for families with kids and pets.
With hundreds of colors and textures, Ambassador Midwest Floor can make a custom area rug perfect for your home.
Shop Ambassador Midwest Floor for the finest selection of Karastan carpet.
And experience more at Ambassador
Midwest Floor.
Andrea Steakhouse in O'Fallon, Illinois has been delighting steak lovers and making lasting friendships since 1978. They're a 7-time winner of the Belleville News Democrats Reader's Choice Award. And Andrea's world-famous steak sauce puts Andrea's Steakhouse in a class by itself. Open for dinner Tuesday through Thursday, 5 till 9, Friday and Saturday, 5 till 10. Call 618-632-4866 for indoor or patio reservations, or visit Andreas.com to view the curbside pickup menu. Andrea's Steakhouse, family-owned in O'Fallon, Illinois. Just a short drive from downtown St. Louis.
Higher education wasn't built for me.
It didn't care that I was juggling work and school.
Didn't care that my kid's dance recital fell on test day.
It's their deadlines, and if you can't hit those, you're out of luck.
At WGU, we hear you. That's why we've built an entire online university around you. Here, you set the deadlines. You take courses on your time, and you take the tests when you're ready. WGU, the nonprofit university of you. Learn more at wgu.edu.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now back to Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here's Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
That's right. We're back here on the Big 550 KTRS, Talk Radio St. Louis. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And we're on our last segment of the show. I know that we do want to talk about smart choices about your health care and also tell a little story about our rock stars of the week if we have time, and naturally to answer your questions at 931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
You know, speaking of the text line, I've now unlocked another facet in which I can text back to our texters. So I'm really just loving every minute of this over here in the studio. So please, keep them coming.
We love to do that. But is it okay that we could do our Smart Choices About Your Healthcare segment, sponsored by our very good friends at Anthem and Aetna?
I'll allow it.
Okay.
So Bill came in to see us last week. He is going to be turning 65 in March. So really perfect timing in terms of getting your Medicare needs set up if you're an individual that does not have other qualified coverage, meaning you're either using COBRA or on an individual health insurance policy or planning to retire right before you turn 65. About a month to 2 months in advance is good timing because we can assist you with that enrollment process and have you talk about your options and be in a low-stress environment in terms of giving you time to make those selections. So
we love low stress.
Exactly. We don't want it to be a pressure situation because we know the time frame. For some individuals, it can become a little stressful. You know, if you've been let go from your job towards the end of the month and you need to jump on Medicare, well, we absolutely can assist you with that. It just becomes, you know, a little bit of a tighter timeline. So having some lead time is great. We definitely suggest that 2 to 3 month window only because we want to make sure that you're prepared for the transition, meaning you don't really think about your health insurance on a day-to-day basis unless you have to utilize it. So lining up your conversation about what you're selecting, being comfortable about what you're selecting, and then actually being on what you've selected within a 30 to 90-day period is usually pretty helpful for you. So that's why we recommend that time frame. So Bill is turning 65 in March, coming on to Medicare for the first time. he's going to be leaving his employer coverage to jump on Medicare, so he's one of those individuals that's trying to line up his retirement right with 65. What does Bill, and so basically Bill wanted to know what he needs to do between now and his effective date, because he really doesn't know much of anything at all about Medicare except for that it's available to him when he turns 65. So to kick things off, Bill is going to use his initial election period. Even though he is retiring and leaving his employer coverage, your initial election period, which is that 7 months that surrounds your month of birth, is always going to be the predominant or the primary election period. So that means, no matter what other election periods you're eligible for, your initial election period always takes precedent. So we want to make sure that we utilize that for him. And what that means is that's a much simpler process than any of the other election periods, because Bill can just log on to ssa.gov, and although it's the Social Security Administration's website, Social Security and Medicare are tied together. They're not contingent upon one another. So we're not going to discuss if Bill is going to take Social Security or not. We're just focused on the Medicare. That will allow him to enroll in his A and B benefits electronically without electing Social Security. Once that's been completed, then we can talk about what are Bill's options in terms of selecting a traditional Medicare policy, a supplement, a Medigap policy, or a Medicare Advantage plan. And those first three options are all the same thing. We just hear many different ways to describe the same thing because it is still government coverage. So part of our process is when Bill called into the office, we asked him to send in that medical questionnaire. It asked for his physicians and his prescriptions. And the reason we ask for that is because we want to make sure that we can get in sync with your current health care needs. The great thing about Medicare is you really can tailor it to what you're looking for. We want to make sure that your physicians are available to you and that your prescriptions are covered for you in the most cost-effective way possible. Also, if you have any other needs, we do leave a little blank at the bottom to let us know, are there certain things that are very important to you, certain upcoming needs that you might have? Do you need hearing aids? Do you have a surgery upcoming scheduled or considering? Anything like that. Do you have ongoing medical needs that aren't really reflected in the physicians and the prescriptions that you've described in the information above? So that's the first step. Then you'll meet with our Medicare coach, Frank, and he will have taken that medical questionnaire in advance and put together your options, the best of both worlds, meaning what will it look like if you're using a traditional Medicare supplement? We like to call those the pay upfront option. You pay a monthly you pay your Medicare Part B premium. That's true across the board. Then you will also pay an additional monthly premium in order to secure your medical coverage. These plans come with very low out-of-pocket expenses. So, for example, if you select a Plan G, you have no network, so you can see any physician that accepts Medicare anywhere in the country. You're going to pay about $150 to $175 a month, depending upon your age and where you happen to live. And your maximum out of pocket is $203. That serves as it's both your deductible and your maximum out of pocket. That means first few visits to the physician, labs, x-rays, things like that, you'll pay $203 out of pocket and then nothing else for the rest of the year unless you're filling your prescriptions. Some of these policies offer that silver sneakers option to you, but that's about it. They're simply a reimbursement structure with Medicare, meaning Medicare pays first, the plan pays. If you've paid your $203, then you owe nothing. But you're not going to get those extra benefits that we often talk about or you hear on commercials, dental, vision, hearing, and that silver sneakers option, or even the over-the-counter benefits that many of the other plans offer. The alternative to that is Medicare Advantage, and this is one of the key reasons that we ask for those physicians, because these policies use a network of physicians, which most people are very used to. All of your employer-based coverage, especially the individual health insurance, uses a network of physicians that you have access to. Some of these policies are PPO-style plans, which means you have access to in-network and out-of-network benefits. Some of these plans are HMO-style plans, which means you have access to in-network benefits. You may or may not be required to get referrals from your primary care doctor to see those specialists. But they also are going to include for you, we like to call these the pay-as-you-go option. The reason for that is you're going to have a low to no monthly premium, regardless of what type of plan you choose, be it HMO or PPO. And then you'll be responsible for a maximum out-of-pocket. This can range, if you choose an HMO, from about $3,000 up to about $5,000 if you're looking at a PPO-style plan. And that just means that every dollar you spend, aside from your prescriptions, is going to go towards that maximum out-of-pocket. If you ever happen to hit that during any year, then you're done paying for the rest of the year. But the great thing about these policies is you only pay for the coverage when you're using it, which is probably the first time for most of us that you've ever been able to say that you have comprehensive medical coverage that you only have to pay for when you actually go to the doctor. They also include other additional benefits for you, like I just mentioned, hearing. They'll offer hearing aid benefits, meaning they'll help pay for those hearing aids for you. Medicare does not do that. Medicare will cover the audiology visits, either using a copay or if you have the supplement, maybe no charges at all. But they don't They don't help you pay for the actual devices. They're also going to assist with dental coverage, which Medicare doesn't provide for at all, meaning, some plans use a network of physicians, others don't. Some have a specific list of coverage that they offer to you. Others allow you to use the dollar amount that they offer any way you'd like towards dental. And that's one of the things that we'll discuss with you. What are some of the nuances between these policies? What might make one better than another? They're also going to offer you eye coverage, which gives you an annual eye exam at no charge, plus money towards your eyewear. And then the Silver Sneakers benefit, which is that free gym membership. And the final thing that they're going to offer is an over-the-counter benefit, which is newer, which gives you some cash to pay for everyday items, everything from cold medicine, which many of us are needing during these crazy weather fluctuations in St. Louis at this moment, all the way to Vaseline and other items that you might find in the pharmacy section of a CVS or Walgreens or other convenience store, which is nice. So when we add... The other thing that will help you do is kind of add up all of those costs, and we can compare what will it look like if we use a supplemental plan where you're paying everything up front versus what is the actual charge for you if you are using a Medicare Advantage plan. Can you recoup some of those out-of-pocket expenses through those extra benefits, which is always nice to know. And then we'll help you make that decision. Once you've decided which policy you'd like, we help you with enrollment, meaning we'll make sure that your application is properly filled out and processed by the insurance company, that you receive those cards. And then the additional benefit that our office offers is help with anything along the way. We're not just a point of service organization. What we're going to be there for is not only to help you if your name is spelled wrong on the card when you receive it, or you receive a bill you weren't anticipating and you can't tell if insurance has covered it or not. And then we'll review it for you every year during open enrollment to make sure that your coverage continues to match your needs.
That's fabulous, babe. I mean, it's so neat to have this service available to our clients, and that's why we work with so many folks that are getting ready to retire, and really we're helping them with both sides of the fence, not only the investment advisory side, but also having the expertise to help them smoothly enroll in Medicare.
Right, and the other cool thing is that we can really work these expenses back into your cash flow game plan, because many individuals retiring in the St. Louis area have worked for such large organizations, be it airplane manufacturers or hospital systems, that they had incredibly low expenses in terms of insurance, be it premiums or out-of-pocket expenses. So that might make a change in your budget, and we're here to help you with that, along with all of your other retirement needs. And with just a few seconds left for our show today, I want to wish everyone a very happy Valentine's Day.
And I certainly do as well. And, you can always give us a call at 314-863-0008 to set up your free coaching session with Aaron or I.
See you next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more Straight Talk on Retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.